will deep over the white line, formerly known as No Name. 2:15.8. Determined. Row. Valuable, especially here. Laycom. Already gained. He has shown that he's got more. Again, utilizing every towards the line. He sets a fourth fast. Look at her trying. Sector 3. Syria sector 2. Tangavelli. 8 on slopes as they make. We're currently seeing on tenths of a second of good use, but we've still about to get spicy and it's both started on the front and on now puts his foot to the time around. Obviously two this one final now reverberating Eau Rouge and Radionic series who took many of these drivers will apex possible, has him away as well. Has improved, as we said before. Very he's so treacherous, making his way through the Lafayette Frere, using all the circuit, trying to maximize every single moment. It has gone purple in that second sector as well. So plenty on the table for Antonelli. Can Tramnitz respond? He is already green in the first sector himself. Has actually found more time in the first sector than that of Antonelli. But Antonelli holding on to that purple middle sector, and he has broken a minute as well. It's a 59.941. This could be a huge lap for Antonelli, but look at the traffic. Goodness me. Talk about bad timing. He's caught up in all the he was, lost a lot of time. So that hunt for the fastest lap here in Group E looks like it's been for naught, and now Tramnitz has a chance of closing out the end of qualifying with a stellar result yet again here against Andrea Kimi Antonelli. We do have the yellow flag being waved. They're calling the cars back in. Antonelli, despite that blistering middle sector, it was all undone come Sector 3, and unfortunately, due to all the traffic out on track heading down towards the bus stop chicane, it simply wasn't to be. So Tim Tramnitz will top the order here in this group. We do have a couple of cars still making their way around, Tramnitz being one of them as they head up towards the bus stop chicane here in sight, pursuing Alexander Partyshev as they make their way around. There they are now, folks, making their way down through towards the source, but Tramnitz once again scores a big result here in qualifying, a 2:15.554. Not too dissimilar from the time that he set yesterday. Still very much in good form. Tramnitz yesterday setting a 2:15.358. Today, it is slightly different, a 2:15.554, but in wet conditions, what was deemed a wet track by race control. That is his superb lap from Tim Tramnitz. Andrea Kimi Antonelli would be wondering what could have been after a sensational Sector 2, a 59.941 in the middle sector, and it could have given him a huge result here, but ruined the traffic, obviously heading down towards bus stop. That is really unfortunate, and does happen. We saw a little bit of it yesterday. Granted, it was in the initial, while the drivers were getting themselves set to sort of get their first laps underway at the start of the session. This time it came at the end of the session, and unfortunately now has hindered Antonelli's progress here in Group B. But Tim Tramnitz up at the sharp end, and we'll take a look at the results from Group B as well. Here are the confirmation of the results from the Group B session here in qualifying 2. Tim Tramnitz for RAce GP back at the top. He's getting oh so used to it. Andrea Kimi Antonelli in second as well, despite being unable to convert that middle sector. A great effort nonetheless. Meir Wiyug, what a performance as well. Third fastest, and definitely continuing the great run from yesterday. Matteo Capietto in 4th, Victor Bernier in 5th, Joshua Dufek in 6th, Roman Belinsky in 7th, Michael Belov in 8th, Owen Tangavelu in 9th, Hadrian David in 10th, Delano Van Hoff in 11th place with Sami Megatunev in 12th, Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. in 13th with Levente Ravesh in 14th place, Giovanni Maschio in 15th, Alexander Partyshev in 16th place with Adam Fitzgerald and RPM in 17th place. Well, as Tim Tramnitz up at the top, he will celebrate, certainly that one, I'm sure. A determined young man who is looking to succeed in this series like many have done in the past, and chasing the dream, certainly, of advancing through the feeder series ladder. And a great basis here at Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine to bring drivers to the forefront, and yet again we're seeing it here at Spa-Francorchamps as we get ready for the next session of qualifying. It'll all be down to the next group. Of course, that'll be Group A. There's Hadrian David, and marking his return to the championship again. And we're now seeing the cars line up. There is Tim Tramnitz's car, currently left stagnant now. And we've got the highlights here from the session, our previous qualifying session. And certainly it was a busy one. Obviously, it wasn't necessarily as chaotic at the start this time around, but this man, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, gave it absolutely everything and certainly gave a stellar showing. Wasn't quite able, though, to take the top time, but nevertheless, plenty of feel-good factors. Tim Tramnitz was certainly one of the fastest drivers out on track, delivering a fantastic P1 shot. But nevertheless, it will be him leading the way here in this group, with Antonelli in second place. There's Tim Tramnitz, folks, making his way through the bus stop chicane, delivering yet another clinic here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. What will happen when we go racing later on? Obviously, though, it's up to the next group. Who's going to be on pole position? Will Tramnitz's time be trumped? Obviously, the speed on the track will be a little bit more elevated given the fact that the temperature is up. Tramnitz giving them a hand, but Tramnitz delivering in stellar fashion. And onwards we go now to Group A here in qualifying 2. And this is where we see the likes of Martinia Stenshorne, Kaz Havercourt, Lorenzo Fluscia, Santiago Ramos, Rafael Kamara, who you currently see on screen, the man who was fastest in collective test 1 this weekend. And he'll be looking to bring Kramer to the top, as well as Antonelli attempted to do so Let's see if he can go one step further this time around. Obviously now the time to beat will be Tim Tramnitz's to decide who gets pole position for this afternoon's race. And more cars now venturing out onto the track. There's the Santa Lock just in behind that of the Prema. There's Kamara's car. See Lorenzo Fluchet already making his way out onto the circuit. We saw him earlier on as well. So Nikhil Bora also in this contingent. Lawrence van Hoopen, Matthias Sagazetta, Alessandro Giusti, Marcus Amand, who unfortunately was given a 2-place grid penalty yesterday after interfering with Matthias Sagazetta in yesterday's qualifying session. So unfortunately, it's going to have to try and fight back against that deficit. Further down, Esteban Masson as well, with Joshua Dirksen, Enzo Scionti, as well as Kirill Smal and Lucas Medina, with Niels Kuhlen and Tom Leben once again returning, this time in Group A as well. The timer now ticking downwards. As it does so, we're going to witness plenty of the cars now get ready for yet another blistering set of laps. It's all down to this moment, the final qualifying session of the weekend here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Who is going to be on pole position? Of course, here in this group as well, Kaz Havercourt. We've got to talk about the man from no less the Van Amersfoort team, who has been part of them now for quite a long time. Of course, has gone through the system, of course, appearing for MP Motorsport at the very start of his time in Formula Regional. And now here, of course, with Van Amersfoort, third season in Formula Regional with a Spanish F4 Championship under his belt and a Vice WSK Karting Championship as well. Very talented and does hold a lot of cards in his favour. A race winner as well in this championship too. And, will no doubt be looking to strive for big results this weekend. Rafael Kamara, the one to watch, because of course he was the man who would go fastest of all in collective test 1. You'll be looking for a big result. But what about Santiago Ramos as well? We alluded to the fact that he, of course, was absolutely venomous yesterday out on circuit, managed to achieve an almighty result, and unfortunately getting trumped obviously by Tramnitz's time due to the fact that you could argue the track was a little bit warmer for Tramnitz's lap. But nevertheless, don't take anything away from Santiago Ramos. A stellar lap to top his group yesterday, and he's going to be looking to do exactly the same thing again. Can lightning strike twice here at Spa-Francorchamps? There's Martinius Stenshorne, the current championship leader as well this weekend, and a rookie in this championship as well, representing RHGP, who have just had Tramnitz go to the top for their team. Stenshorne is going to look to do exactly the same and holds 3 wins this season from Imola in race 1, taking 2 wins at Hungaroring as well. An amazing feat for a young man such as him, certainly in his rookie season in these cars, and 4 podiums as well. If you consider Imola race 1 taking the victory, P2 then in race 2, Hungaroring delivering, as I said before, 2 wins to his name. Stenshorne leading the championship. Can he once again bounce back? Didn't have the best of days yesterday, but has it in his locker obviously to bounce back this time around. And everything matters, everything counts. We allude to the fact that Antonelli, of course, with him achieving the P2s that he has done, the consistency, that's exactly what you need when it comes to this championship as a whole. And if you consider RSGP's lineup, it is the consistent podiums, the consistent top-end performances that have garnered the team their top of the championship status with 171 points ahead of the Prema team. It certainly is getting feisty up at the top. Van Amersfoort in 3rd in the title race as well, with Kaz Havercourt representing them, spearheading the lineup this weekend for them, but also Josh Dufek and Niels Kuhlen, who of course represents in Group A as well. So Van Amersfoort very well represented here in this Group A contingent of qualifying. Let's wait and see what they can bring to the table as now we see the cars make their way through the first sector. That's Tom Leben coming all the way from the United Kingdom. Was competed in GB3, 3rd place in that championship as well, and a race winner, knows how to win races, and looking to try and build on the start of his season as well. Arden Motorsport still chasing their first points as a team in this championship, currently lie 9th in the standings, just in behind that of ART, who sit with 18 points to their name as well in 8th place. But Tom Leben, a very, very fast driver, and carries a lot of ability here in this championship. Let's wait and see what the cars can deliver. We've now hit the final 10 minutes here in this session, and already now we're seeing the Sector 1 times come in. Of course, looking back, it is indeed Lorenzo Fluchet currently holds on to the purple first sector at this point. 2nd sector for Marcus Amand, but obviously a lot of these are out laps and will be brought down considerably when, of course, they go full throttle around this circuit of Spa. You can just see them still working on the tyres, getting them up to temperature, as we saw as well in Group B. And obviously as well, they've got to be cautious of track limits. We alluded to the fact that a couple of decisions were made by the stewards yesterday. Of course, Joshua Dirksen having his removed. And he is once again in this session. Of course, having the time deleted initially around turn 10, which forced him down to P5 after having his earlier lap stated as his fastest one, but had his fastest lap reinstated, of course, after hours, as they revised the footage, re-looked at the footage, and witnessed that he did indeed stay within track limits. So Joshua Dirksen will get to start tomorrow's race from P3 in his group. So a sensational effort from him. As you know, see the cars make their way down through towards turn 1 yet again. This time it's the RPM driver, Santiago Ramos, who we see on screen, the man who would go fastest in Group A yesterday. Can he muscle up some of the same this time around as well? Will certainly be a great feat for a driver such as him, looking to try and bolster the RPM team, who are certainly on the rise, and the team who, in their infancy in this particular championship, of course, only recently getting involved in single-seaters in this series, but are constantly growing and striving for better as time goes on. And now Ramos certainly adding more strings to their bow here at this point as they make their way through towards the Lecom section. Need to try and keep it pinned through this section as well, because Malmedy comes up next. Watch out for the gravel on the left-hand side as well. Use all the curb. You see the gravel being flicked up in behind as well. Just goes to show how much these drivers are pushing to try and achieve the best they can. Heading through Rivage, and then they'll streak through this next left as well. This, of course, the place. This is turn 10, where some of the drivers have to be careful. You see the white line there. If they cross that, they will have an invalidation brought upon them by the stewards. But again, it's all down to the drivers to try and unlock every ounce of this circuit to benefit and increase the possibilities of a great performance. Santiago Ramos, as you would expect, green in the first sector, finding 2.2 in that first sector as well. The purple second sector, though, being taken by Marcus Amand. It's now been instantly taken away by Lorenzo Flusha as well, who currently sits second in our timing screen. Niels Kuhlen, currently 11th, has just stolen the first fastest sector. Martinius Stenshorne now takes the second sector, purple sector. As now we see Ramos make his way down through towards the latter stages of this lap, finding more and more improvements as time goes on. Alessandro Giusti currently holding time at the top, but obviously that lap being set as they set the bankers. Kaz Havercourt to the top. Marcus Amand setting a 2:17. We haven't yet seen the 15s. 2:16 from Flusha. Nikhil Bora now into second. Niels Kuhlen in third as well. Lucas Medina lines up in fifth as well. Martinius Stenshorne to the top. A sensational 2:15.472. A fantastic lap from Martinius Stenshorne early on, not messing around, certainly not leaving any time delays. Joshua Dirksen second fastest, ahead of Ramos, who's now third. Tom Leben up to fourth as well. But Stenshorne not leaving it late whatsoever. 33 thousandths back now. Kamara as well, second fastest for the Prema. Incredible laps already on display in this very early part of the session. We still have time to go, so what else can these teams deliver? What else can the drivers deliver? But Martinius Stenshorne, the championship leader, back to the top again in these initial bursts here in qualifying 2 Group A. And already showing improvements again in the first sector. 51 thousandths in sector 1. Green in this stint as he now makes his way down through towards Rivage yet again. He'll keep it pinned on the inside. You hear a slight squeal as he gets the car tied into the inside. He'll then loop it through around the Jochenring curve, around the Jackie X curve, shall I say, making his way down through towards the next left as well, through towards Pouon. Again, very, very fast-paced section. Be very careful not to extend. Oh, we just see him there make a little mistake. Did move over the curbs there. That might cost him, as he now looks to sleuth around now the Le Farnier chicane now. Again, you've got to try and keep it tight. Try and keep it tight to the inside, then loop back through. Give yourself a nice bit of exit speed and a tidy line heading through towards Campus and Stavelo. Martinius Stenshorne looking very dialed in. Obviously didn't have the most fortuitous, and has incidentally lost time in that second sector due to that little moment over the curb. So unfortunately, you'll have to go again, but certainly the time he's already set will be a difficult one to beat. Kamara getting within 33 thousandths. I'm just looking to see whether the Kamara's improved. He has. Kamara, incidentally, faster than Stenshorne in the first sector. So while 51 thousandths was found by Stenshorne in the first sector, Kamara has found a little more than that. As we now see Stenshorne make his way through the bus stop chicane and heads down towards the line as well, once again, where he'll close out this lap. And indeed just getting himself prepped for yet another run. 4 minutes and 30 still to go. RSGP, I'm sure will be delighted to see once again their man up at the top. And it could be a front row lockout for the race later on in terms of RSGP cars. Tramnitz and Stenshorne, but Kamara, as I said, now to the top with a massive 2:15.282. A sensational run there from Rafael Kamara. Of course, I alluded to the fact he was faster than Stenshorne in the first sector, and he's managed to achieve that P1 spot. And here's the replay. This was the moment, of course, certainly for Martini Stenshorne, when he rounded Pouon, just overextended. We speak about the overextension, just a little wiggle of the car as he made his way over the curb, and unfortunately that cost him a lot of time heading through that middle sector, and that was where the time was lost. So he's now got to try and reset, but now it's Rafael Kamara with the advantage. Prema now back on the top with Rafael Kamara, 2:15.282, a massive lap from Kamara. Joshua Dirksen still holding on to third. Kirill Small in sixth fastest as well. Just looking across the board now, we are seeing some improvements as well. Alessandro Giusti finding a little bit of time in the first sector. Lawrence van Hoopen as well at 39.7. He's just set a 45 in this sector, so on a cool down run, at least for now, to prepare for perhaps one last lap. There's Kamara. He's currently on a slow lap this time around. He might look to try and just reduce the pace a little bit, get his car teed up for one final run. 2:15.282 enlisted for Kamara. What a lap. And we'll see whether that can garner him a front row spot. Certainly it will grant him, of course, pole position come the race later on today. And should it stay like this, he'll be side by side with Tim Tramnitz. So while it will be a Prema and an RSGP up on the front row of the grid like it was in Barcelona, this time it's Kamara and not Antonelli. But Kamara showing all the promise, as he has done in his junior career, as we're now seeing the RPM motorsport car also make its way around. That, of course, belonging to that of Santiago Ramos, the man who went fastest yesterday, currently sat 4.5 tenths of the realm away from the top end. Kamara still at the top, though. And, as you can see now, the car's getting ready to look for track position, ready for the final runs here in qualifying. It's Kamara, Stenshorne, Dirksen and Ramos as they now look to venture down through towards Les Sources once again. Turn one beckons. And in comes the RPM car now of Santiago Ramos. Can he find a little bit of late promise now here in the dying moments of qualifying two, as he now looks to try and put the throttle down, heads up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. One of the most iconic sections of circuit in the world of motorsport now, as the RPM motorsport car climbs its way through this section. You'll then take the rise heading through towards the Kemmel Straight as well. And next on his list will be a venture around Les Combes. Again, hearing more squealing of the cars as they look to try and maximize everything in these cars. It's now or never for all of these drivers now as he ventures through towards Les Combes now. Malmedy will be next. Keep it tight, keep it pinned as he now ventures through. Be careful not to overextend on the left-hand side. Does it exceptionally well. There's a car coming back on as well. Now that looks to be, is that a Van Amersfoort car that has ventured off the track there? Is that Kaz Havercourt, who currently sits in 12th place? Ramos, though, has improved and found an almighty amount of time in the first sector. But look at Kamara's time. He has gone purple in that first sector. Nearly 2 tenths marshalled here. Stenshorne losing out by 1,000th in the first sector, but still an improvement on his original lap, as now we're seeing the cars make their way through that middle sector. Kamara looking to try and elevate himself further. Could this be a 2:14? We've yet to see one here in this session so far. Could it be the case that Kamara can go as high as that here in qualifying, as we now see Ramos make his way through the latter sector? There's Kamara right behind him as well. He might be getting a little bit of a tow here as well. If he can get himself within Ramos's car, might be a little bit too much of an ask, though, at this point. Kamara losing time, though, in that second sector, so negating his efforts in sector 1. He will not necessarily improve that much, but still might have something in the final sector as he now looks to peel around Blanchimont once again. Still improvements on hand for Santiago Ramos, but still needs a lot to fight. Stenshorne still second fastest. Flusha goes third fastest. We got Nikhil Bora in 6th. Ramos still in 5th now. Dirksen reduced to 4th as more cars come across. Medina goes ahead of Shanti as well. More cars coming across the line. Can anyone improve up at the top end? Ramos goes third fastest as well. A blistering lap after setting a purple third sector at 2:15.443 up at the sharp end. But Kamara at this stage looks like he's going to bring it home. Joshua Dirksen remaining in 5th as well. Flusha, what a lap for the other Prema as well. But it's Rafael Kamara, everybody. He is the fastest man here in qualifying, and a stellar lap at 2:15.110. Did find a little extra in that final sector after losing a little bit of time in sector 2. Purple in the first sector, an improvement. Green in that final sector, 35.463. There's Alessandro Giusti, who makes his way down through towards the latter sector, not able to improve in those first 2 sectors, certainly by a huge amount, but nevertheless, a stellar showing. And what a competitive certainly session we've had here. It's certainly very close to a 2:14. If Kamara was able to find that little bit more in sector 2, what could have been a mere 1/10 of a second plus away from a 2:14 lap, but it will be enough to give him pole position ahead of what has been a very, very busy qualifying session. Martinius Stenshorne, second fastest, back to the front end as well for Stenshorne. And if he can get a good start, that will give him an opportunity at fighting for the lead of the race. But we will have to wait and see whether that can be delivered. All the drivers now back in the pit lane, and they will soon be met with their teams as well. And obviously looking ahead later on. Here are the results from qualifying to Group A. Rafael Kamara is your P1 sitter, and he will take pole when we go racing later on this afternoon, 2:15.110. Martinius Stenshorne in 2nd, Santiago Ramos in 3rd, Lorenzo Flusha in 4th as well, with Joshua Dirksen in 5th, Kirill Small in 6th, with Nikhil Bora in 7th, Tom Leben in 8th, with Kaz Havercourt in P9, Alessandro Giusti in 10th place, with Matthias Zagazeta in 11th, Lawrence Van Hoopen in 12th, with Marcus Amand in 13th place, Esteban Masson in 14th, with Niels Coulin in 15th as well, 18th place further down as well, where we saw Medina further down, as well as Enzo Schianti in 17th. But there is Rafael Kamara, the fastest man on track, will go ahead to take the fastest time overall as well in both groups. So he will start on pole position for our race this afternoon. And we are going to take you through now, folks, the highlights of this session as well. And making their way out onto the track, out of the pit lane. It was a case of getting the tyres warm, and they left everything out on the circuit. A big moment for Martinius Stenshorne while he was fighting for pole position. Gave it absolutely everything. It could have been a sensational lap. Kamara, though, delivering the sensational lap, though, and getting himself P1 here in this session as well. RPM also looking to chase with Santiago Ramos. He gave it everything here. Only managed 3rd fastest at this point, but it was Kamara out on top. And it's this man out on top. Rafael Kamara, Prema back in P1. And despite a lot of movement in the car, you just see him there controlling it through the iconic bus stop chicane. But it's Prema in P1, a position they're oh so used to. And once again, RSGP and Prema, the championship battle continues here at Spa. And we'll certainly see who will come out on top in that fight. As we said before, obviously coming into the weekend, the 2 teams at the top of the standings, 171 RSGP at the very top, 171 points to their name, with Prema in 2nd place, 131 points coming into the weekend, 40 points separate them, and a big result here at Spa could yet make all the difference here this weekend. Van Amersfoort obviously will be looking to try and fight back. Kaz Havercourt with a little bit of work to do, P9 here in this session. Of course, can he find some places here in the race this afternoon? Obviously, plenty of drivers looking to fight for places, but the front row looks mouth-watering here later on. And certainly you can come and join us later on this afternoon as well. Don't forget to tune in, of course, this afternoon at in the mid-afternoon, where we will have action. Plenty of cars out on track. It's going to be a huge battle here at Spa under the cloud cover and also the blue sky as well. Join us this afternoon, where we go racing here at Formula Regional European Championship.